What's going on, people? It's your boy Daryl from the Boxing Lowdown here, and I'm delighted to be joined for episode number 39. Episode number 39 of the Boxing Lowdown podcast. And as you can see, I'm delighted to be joined by my co-host, Mr. Controversial. You know who he is, man. Laurie from AFTV in the house. What's going on, man? Talk to me.
Yeah, I'm all right, man. I'm all right in the AFTV studio. We're gearing up in here for, you can't see it because I'm in one of the other rooms, but we're gearing up for the big game on Sunday, man, when it comes home.
It's definitely coming home, right?
I believe so. Although it would be good not to be overconfident because we've got fairly formidable opponents in Italy. But I do believe, and I do honestly believe that England are the slightly stronger of the two sides. And given the fact that we're playing at home, I'm also hearing that there's going to be an increased capacity for this game. I think all the portents are pointing towards an England win. So, yeah, man, that's what I want anyway. I'm sure that's what you want. But, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a great game.
Hope so, man. And let me just say as well, it's also on that day, it's going to be your birthday. So hopefully we get a bit of luck on that day, man. And, you know, it really does come home. It'd be a bit of a double celebration there, wouldn't it? Your birthday, football coming home, you know. I mean, hey, what more could you want?
What more could you want, indeed? And it's interesting because I was alive the last time England won a major trophy. So I'm in a minority there, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I'm one of those that can say that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a little indication of how old I'll be. But, yeah, man, I'm no spring chicken. But if England do bring it home on Sunday, which I hope and expect that they will, then I'll be jumping around like a much younger man. But, yeah, but we'll see,
listen, man. Listen. We got a lot to talk about anyway. It's not a football podcast, unfortunately, but you know we do have boxing to talk about. Guys that join the chat, you know the drill, man. You know how it goes. Leave your comments, drop a like on the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We'll happily answer any comments that you guys put in there. And let's get cooking, man. Let's look at the chat right now. My bro, Harvey, always one of the first people in. He's put, yo, how's it going, lads? Good to see you, Harvey, man, as always. Conrad, another bro, you know, he's always here. He says, good evening to you, bro. Francisco, big up Francisco, man, from across the pond. He's put, good to see you, brothers. I was about to ask you about the Euro final. Italy is a tough squad. It should be a great event.
Oh, it's a massive event. Massive. In this country, I mean, even yesterday after the semi-final, the office is in Finsbury Park, and I was driving home. I live in North London, and the amount of people in the streets, man, I saw police everywhere. Not so much because there was trouble, it's the sheer amount of people in the street. You know what I mean? And they were just exuberant and getting up to all sorts, man. I didn't see any trouble, to be fair, but it was just a lot of people drunk and in high spirits, man. So, yeah, it was great to behold. So if that was what the semi-final was like, you can imagine what the final is going to be like, man. It's going to be crazy. But,
yeah, okay. It will, man. It absolutely will be. It's going to be mental over here. Let's talk boxing, though. You know, not a lot happening over the last week or so. You know, we did see Chris Colbert in action. You know, he fought, I'm not going to pronounce the guy's name, but he fought a late replacement fighter, pretty much dominated that from start to finish. Did you watch it? Did you watch that fight?
Yeah, let's just
make of Chris Colbert.
King Tug is what they call him because, like you said, his name is so long. He's a Mongolian guy. Very good amateur. Won a silver medal at the Olympics. Yeah, good fighter, man. Came in at short notice, and he also had to move up a weight.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he was a lot going against him. He wasn't really expected to win. But he did put up a good effort. He did make Chris Colbert work at times. Did catch him with a few shots as well. So Colbert, you know, he said after the fight that King Tug had hit him harder than anyone else had ever hit him in the ring. So, yeah, man, fair play. King Tug as well that he gave Gary Russell Jr. a really good fight a couple of years ago. So, you know, I mean, he's no mug. He's a very good fighter. Chris Colbert, obviously, he's a bigger guy, the younger guy, the fresher guy. the guy that was preparing for a fight. He was taller, longer, you know what I mean, probably a bit stronger in there as well. So he had the advantages, and he got a points win, but he was made to work at times. So yeah, it's a good outing for him. He was supposed to have fought Yuriorkis Gamboa.
Pulled out.
Or pulled out, but to me, it was one of those where the replacement was probably a harder fight than the original fight, because let's face it, the Gamboa of today is not the Gamboa of several years ago. So I think he would have had a pretty comfortable, I don't like to use the word comfortable when it comes to boxing, but I think he would have had a fairly routine win against Gamboa. But at least King Tug stepped in at the last minute and made him work. So I'm sure he was pleased for that anyway. It's a good experience.
Let's go to the comments here quickly. Conrad has put here, my prediction is the UK to win. I'm guessing he's England, obviously, by wrongfully given penalty. A bit of banter there. WM, what's going on, man? In the bro, he's put, nice to see your handsome faces. Good to have you here, my friend. And he's also put here, the biggest win for Colbert was his real talk about Wilder.
Yeah, well, it seemed he made more headlines for his for the stuff he said outside the ring than his performance in it. And of course, a lot of that to do was with Wilder. He made some pretty outspoken remarks about Wilder, said that he was making excuses, called him a sucker and one or two other choice words. I thought that was a bit out of pocket, to be honest. In fact, not a bit out of pocket. I thought it was very out of pocket. A lot of people weren't happy about it, and they let him know about it. But then on the plus side, if you're Chris Colbert, I don't know if he did it deliberately, but the one thing it did do was that it's got his name out there. So I'm not sure if that's what he intended, but the upshot of all him doing all that talking was that all of a sudden his name was thrust into the limelight. So, but then with that comes a certain amount of pressure, because already after that fight ended, a lot of people was criticizing him, saying, look, you know, you should have got King Tug out of there. It was a last minute replacement. The guy was jumping up in weight. It was a short notice fight. So Colbert should have knocked him out, you know what I mean? So, you know, but that's the path he's chosen to go down, man. He did later apologize for some of the remarks and said that he was merely expressing an opinion. But I think it was some of the stuff he'd said about Wilder. He kind of personalized it a little bit and made it a bit disrespectful. When I mean, it's one thing to say you think Wilder lost and you think you'll lose the rematch. That's fair enough. But then when you start calling people names and belittling their fighting style and trashing him, you know what I mean, on a personal level, then that's going down a whole different route, you know what I mean? And I thought that was rather unfortunate that he chose to do that. I noticed that the American fighters do tend to do that, man. They do tend to do that. I've noticed that. I've said this to you as well. In particular, the black American fighters. I don't know what's up, but there's not much unity there, man. You know what I mean? I mean, listen, Wilder's obviously is not even at Colbert's weight. So why does he feel the need to call him out of his name like that? Like, you know what I mean? If you want to express an opinion as to whether he won the fight or whether you believed some of the stuff that Wilder said after the fight, then, you know, fair enough. But when you personalize like that, you take it down a whole different avenue, man. You know what I mean? It's just not a very nice thing to do.
He's not the only one. WM has put here, Al Heyman must have given him a slap. He's not the only Al Heyman PBC fighter that's spoken out against Deontay Wilder, though. You've also got Jamel Charlo that's spoken out about him recently, saying that he was making excuses, saying that it was nothing to do with race, the reason why he lost. And, you know, he got some heat from some people for saying that. But, I mean, what's the heat for, do you think? I mean, for him expressing his opinion, what is the heat for him expressing his opinion on that topic? What do you think was the issue there?
I don't know with the American guys, man. The American culture in boxing, for example, is very different to ours. So, for example, a lot of the guys tend to be quite braggadocious. They talk a lot. They like to talk smack. But then I've noticed that they will, you know what I mean, rip each other apart as well in public, which is strange because you don't really see that happen. Say, for example, here.
Besides Fury, I mean, Fury does over here. But
Fury's fighting, especially if he's fighting an American guy. I guarantee you will not see a fighter from Britain, especially if he's not at heavyweight. ripping into Tyson Fury and stuff like that. Same with Anthony Joshua. They might say, oh, look, I think Wilder's got a good chance of beating him, or, you know, something like that. They might express an opinion as to the fight, but it will stop short of getting personal and saying things, you know what I mean, like trashing his style and trashing his personality and stuff like that and calling him names. I don't think I've ever seen that in England. Have you? Yes, you'll get guys like Dillian and Derek Chisora, for example. It's clear that those two have an inherent dislike of each other. But then even then, I've noticed that when Dillian had his fight with Povetkin coming up and they interviewed Derek, he said he thought he wanted Dillian to win.
I've seen it once or twice. I've seen it one time with AJ, and it was, you know, Archie Sharp. They had an interview, and then I don't know if it was about to do with AJ and Fury actually, but I just thought it was completely random. He was just like, "Yeah, I just don't like that guy. I just don't like him." And the report was like, "Why?" He's like, "Oh, I just don't like." I'm like, "What? Like, what's AJ done to you, bro? Has he got with your missus or something? Like, what's going on here?"
Well, I remember you telling me that about Archie Sharp. I know Archie Sharp was picked against AJ a couple of times as well. So yeah, it's probably something personal going on there. But that
Conrad said Dylan White comes first.
That kind of stands out because you don't hear that often. Whereas with American fighters, I mean, Colbert apparently had picked Errol Spence to lose against Manny Pacquiao. He picked him to lose against who was the fighter there for Chris Algieri. He picked him to lose against Mikey Garcia. And I regularly watch videos where you get a guy just come on and trash another guy's style. Loads of them do it. Loads of them do it. And you look around and you think that doesn't really happen that much here. And if you go around the globe, you very rarely see Mexican fighters trash other fighters. In fact, they will tell you straight they're staying on code. For example, I've heard in the lead up to the Mikey Garcia versus Errol Spence fight, I remember clearly listening to an interview with David Benavidez, and he was asked who he thought would win. And he said, listen, if you ask me who I think will win, I think Errol Spence has got an edge. But Mikey Garcia is a Mexican fighter or Mexican extraction. He said, I'll always go for the Mexican. Now, with the Americans, the Black Americans, you very rarely see that. You know what I mean? They're very quick to put each other down, man, and take shots at each other. I don't know the nature of this. It's difficult for me to explain it on a show like this. I don't want to go into that whole realm, you know what I mean? But it is noticeable. You must have noticed it, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't speak on it much because I just don't know what it's like. I'm not from there, so I'm not in that vicinity. So it's hard for me to say too much of it. But you know, over here, it's not really the same.
It's very noticeable, man. Very. They're very quick to chastise each other, make fun of each other. When a guy has a loss, they will clown on that guy, come on videos and start talking smack about, you know what I mean, the other person. And it's kind of distasteful, really. You know what I mean? It is.
Yeah.
And to hear Chris Colbert talking about Wilder like that, I thought it was very disrespectful. Like I said, if you thought that the guy lost to Fury in the first fight and the second fight, and if you think that he's not going to win the third fight, hey, that's your opinion. You're free to express it. But like I said, it was some of the terminology that was used. It was some of the sarcastic putting down of Wilder's style. I just thought it was very inappropriate, man. And you wonder, and then he goes on to say, well, I don't have a problem with Wilder. So if you don't have a problem with Wilder and you're saying all those things about him, well, what would happen if you did have a problem with it? Same with Jermell Charlo, the way he ripped into Wilder, you would have thought that they've got some big issue. But Jermell Charlo then come out and said, look, I've got no problem with Wilder. You could have fooled me. That's all I can say. But hey, man, I don't, like you said, it's probably an issue for another show, a separate show, because, you know, it's a weird one. But yeah, in America, more than any other country that I could care to name, you get that kind of thing happening. For example, Manny Pacquiao fighting Errol Spence. I don't think you could find me one Filipino fighter or Filipino that's going to tip Errol Spence to beat Pacquiao. Not one have I seen. Whereas I've seen plenty black fighters tipping against Errol Spence. and calling him slow-footed and this and that. He don't have power. A man is going to knock him out. You think, wow. So I would love to know the source of this. I've got my own views, like I said. But like I said, that's for another show.
Let me go to some of the comments here because we've got some comments regarding this topic. First of all, Stefan, good to have him here. He's put some brilliant fights this weekend on that DAZN card. There is, Jojo Diaz against Javier Fortuna. Then you've got Hector Tanajara against William Cepeda. So that 2 good fights there. Zerdo's also in action this weekend as well against Sullivan Barrera. So we got some good. We have got some action this weekend, man.
I'm looking forward to that Fortuna fight, man. That's the one that stands out for me.
That's going to be a good fight. Who have you got in that one?
You know what? I'm leaning slightly towards Fortuna. Big puncher, strong at the weight. Obviously, you're supposed to fault Ryan Garcia, but Ryan Garcia's on this extended break because of his so-called mental issues. We won't go there, but yeah, so he dropped out. Jojo Diaz stepped in, very capable opponent, former world champion himself. And yeah, he's looking to make a big splash. So this is going to be a very good fight, man. And Zerdo back in the ring as well.
Yeah.
I'm
Sullivan Barrera.
Yeah, and Sullivan Barrera can punch. He's strong. He's game. Probably a little bit past his best, Sullivan Barrera. But he'll be competitive while the fight lasts. So, and for Zerdo coming back, I think that's a good opponent for him.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's not a bad fight at all, to be fair.
Just a shame that we're not going to be seeing those in this country unless you streaming or something like that. Or, if you've got the DAZN app, which I do have, then you're right. I think some of those fights are on Friday, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. So I'll be tuning in for sure. I'll be tuning in for sure, man.
Yeah. Francisco Alatorre has put here, Nassim Hamid was a talker, but a lot of it was about how great he thought he was. Nathan has put here, Colbert just calls it straight. It's refreshing, to be honest. And Stefan agrees. He's put, Colbert is a breath of fresh air. But in terms of building his popularity in the US, his comments are probably ill-advised. I rarely disagree with what he says, though. So, a lot of people agree with what...
I think there's 2 different aspects here. If we're talking about his opinions on the fights with Fury, Wilder's fights with Fury, he said he thought Fury lost. Sorry, he thought Wilder lost both fights. Obviously, the second one was comprehensive loss. Colbert was saying that he doesn't think that Wilder has the skill sets to beat a Fury, that Fury has his number, right? Now, like I said, that is fair enough. That's his opinion. Where I have an issue with it is that he started to make it personal by calling Wilder out of his name, by calling him a sucker and 1 or 2 other adjectives that I won't mention on the show now. And I just thought his whole manner was very disrespectful. And I'm thinking to myself, well, it can't be because you've got this rivalry going on with Wilder because, you're a junior lightweight and Wilder's a heavyweight. So what is going on here? You're even from the same stable, technically. Why do you feel the need to put the guy down like that so harshly? And that level of disrespect, I don't think you would get in this country. I really don't. In fact, I've never seen that. I've never seen that. Like, you get a guy that's openly trashing a fighter from the same stable, from the same country. And obviously, like I said, they're not in the same weight class. So it's not like you've got any competition going on. But hey,
trying to rack my brain, trying to think of in the past.
It's something that permeates American boxing culture a lot. I'm not saying it's never happened in England, but I'm saying compared to America, where it seems to happen almost weekly, you don't see that here. And I'm glad about that as well, because I just find it a bit off-putting, to be honest.
More comments here. Stefan said, I think some of it was Colbert clowning Nez, to be honest. Definitely winding him up in some parts of that interview. Box fans, he's from across the pond. So big up box fans, first of all. Good to have him here. Maybe he could offer his opinion on it. He'll know more than us, considering that box fans is based in the US. Big up A-Obes in the chat. He's put here, I think it's about time some guys in the US spoke the truth on Deontay Wilder. So he's probably not got a problem with Chris Colbert's comments.
let's talk about that. So it wasn't just Wilder that he spoke ill of. He also spoke ill of Errol Spence, called him flat-footed, can't punch, and one or two other things like that. You know what I mean? Said he thought he'd get knocked out by Manny Pacquiao. I'm saying to you, show me a video of a Filipino fighter saying that about Manny Pacquiao. Not just for the Errol Spence fight, but with any fight. You will not see it. Trust me, you will not see it. In America, it happens on an almost weekly basis, and I'm struggling to get my head around that. I can understand the competitive nature of boxing, that there will be trash talk going on, but I think these guys take it to that next level where it becomes personal. And also, you're talking about guys that are not in your weight class. So what is there to be achieved by that, other than achieving infamy, which is what Chris Colbert did? Because like I said, he's known more for his comments about Wilder than anything he's done in the ring. And that will help him to some degree get his name out there. But then, like I said, there comes that pressure to perform each time. Because every time he goes in that ring now, man, he's not going to have to just win. He's going to have to look very good in doing it. And whilst he got a good win at the weekend, he didn't blow anyone away with his performance. So, of course, there was plenty of naysayers after the fight saying, oh, you talked all that smack about Wilder. You were in against a guy on short notice, undersized, underprepared, and you couldn't do nothing with him. So, I don't know, man.
Big up DS here. He's put, good evening, gents. Good evening, bro. Good to have you here, as always. Box fans have said here, unfortunately, we don't support our own like we should. Like I said, he's based over there across the pond. So, you know, that's his opinion on it.
They definitely don't. I wonder if box fans can enlighten us as to why this might be. Very quickly, obviously, you know what I mean? Because like I said, I have my own theories. I don't want to expand on them too much. But maybe box fans, in a few words in the comment section, can say why he thinks that is. But I struggle with that because, like I said, you don't get it. You don't get it with Australians. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, I heard George Kambosos the other day. He was talking about Tim Tszyu, and he was bigging him up. Now, George Kambosos, as we know, he's a junior welterweight. Tim Tszyu is a junior middleweight, so they're not in the same weight class. But he was espousing the virtues of Tim Tszyu. So he's going to go all the way, great fighter, great pedigree of his dad, who was, of course, Costa Tszyu and stuff like that. You know, really bigging him up. In America, man, really happens.
He could reach the heights. So do you think he could reach the heights as what his dad did? It's too early to say, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's a bit too early. He does look a good fighter, though. I have been impressed with him so far. Yeah. And I like his confidence, man. He's got a big fight coming up over there against Mike Zarafa. Mike Zarafa, as we know, he fought in this country against Kell Brook. And he performed very well against Kell Brook as well. So that over there, that is a big fight. And I'll probably watch that as well when it comes around. So, yeah.
Francisco Alatorre said here, some exceptions on the Mexicans. Barrera and Morales, yeah, they did. They hated each other. There was a lot of trash talking between them, and Barrera even punched Morales at a press conference. They did. I remember that.
I remember that. But again, these guys were in the same weight class. They were deadly rivals. So you can kind of understand it to some degree. I'm talking about guys that are not in it. So, for example, I'll just give you one that coming straight off the top of my head. A few weeks ago, when Devin Haney had that fight, and he won, he didn't get dropped, but he got hurt. There was a number of Black American fighters coming out trashing his performance after the fight. One of them was Sean Porter, he's got a podcast, and he even went as far as to suggest that the fight was fixed. You know what I mean? And Devin Haney's a lightweight and Sean Porter's a welterweight. They're never going to fight each other. And he went out of his way on his podcast to trash Devin Haney's performance. And I just thought that was weird. And let's face it, they're not rivals in a weight class. Devin Haney's a young guy making his way up through the ranks. Surely if you're someone like Sean Porter, who's an experienced guy, who's been through this type of things himself, I thought he would have been applauding Devin Haney and said, look, good fight, man. You beat a great opponent there. You got caught, but hold you. That's what would have happened in this country. In this country, the elder statesman would have been saying, listen, man, if it was Daryl, I said, Daryl, you fought really well. You got the win. Next time, just got to stay focused. Don't get caught like that, blah, blah, blah. But in America, it's almost like they were celebrating the fact that Devin Haney got buzzed and hurt. You know what I mean? I'm like, I was like, wow. And he wasn't the only one. There was a few of them, you know, but he just the one that came, his name just came into my head as I was thinking about it, you know what I mean? But yeah, he's trashing Devin Haney. To the point that he was saying that he thought the fight might be fixed because, you know what I mean? These kind of things just make me wonder what's going on, bro. Serious.
I'm enjoying this topic here because there's a lot of opinions on it in the chat. Conrad has said here, Fury has said things in the past that are 100 times worse than what Wilder has ever said, but he gets away with it. Do you agree with that?
Fury has said things about AJ and about opponents. He said things about David Price and one or two people like that.
Yeah, I remember that interview.
He had a little bit of a fallout as well with Tony Bellew, but that was because Tony Bellew had said he thought he could beat Tyson Fury. So then Tyson Fury kind of turned his angst on Tony Bellew. But I haven't seen any antipathy between Tyson Fury and guys from smaller weights. I know he made a barbed comment, didn't he, aimed at Daniel Dubois. But then again, they're heavyweight. They're both in the same weight class.
Yeah.
I'm talking about if you saw, I don't know, a welterweight from Britain get beaten, and then you see Tyson Fury or one of these guys come out and start throwing shade on that guy. Oh, he got beat. I always knew you weren't that good. And you know what I mean? You just, you know what I mean? Maybe these guys might say things privately. I'm sure they do, some of them. But come out publicly and criticize and trash somebody and try and belittle them and stuff like that. It's nowhere near the same as in America. And like I said, I don't know any other country where it happens so persistently as it does there. And I have to say, and I'm going to be honest now, it's the black fighters, because the Mexican American fighters do not do that to each other. And if they do, like I said, it's very rare. And if it happens, it's usually because they're in the same weight class, so they got a natural rivalry.
Triple Single says here, I think nobody would be against Wilder in America if he fired Jay Diaz instead of Mark Breland. It makes no sense that you complain about your gloves, that your white coach is on camera watching get put on. Javier Horosco has said here, Fury is happy that Wilder interfered with Undisputed. AJ is the #1 feared heavyweight. Big up Javier Roscoe. Good to have him back here in the chat. A. Obes has put here, in my opinion, Wilder needs to be cursed out for his treatment of Brilliant. So another one saying it there. He's put, there's nothing wrong with saying Spence is flat-footed and will lose. He's entitled to his opinion. Is he not? Is A. Obes wrong there? I mean,
entitled to his opinion, but if you look at the interview, I think that interview might have been taken down now because it was quite a big furore afterwards. And there was talk that Wilder had commissioned for it to be taken down. Then we heard that it wasn't Wilder. We don't know who it was exactly, but the video was taken down. There are suggestions that it may be somebody from the PBC had a word with Colbert, and it was Colbert that asked the YouTuber to take it down. Listen, like I said earlier, I don't have a problem with somebody expressing an opinion, although even then, so say for example, you had Tyson Fury, he's going to fight Wilder, okay? If you have interviews with AJ and Dillian Whyte and, you know, Derek Chisora, let's take Dillian Wilder. We all know that Dillian is not a big fan of Fury and vice versa. They've gone back and forth in recent times. But I doubt very much if you're going to hear Dillian Whyte come out openly and say, yeah, well, I hope Wilder knocks Fury out. He's not going to say that. He just wouldn't, you know what I mean? So whether he might wish that in private, who knows? But then again, I know Dillian's got a big problem with Wilder as well, so maybe that's not the best example. But you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
You will very rarely see a British fighter openly root against their own countrymen to lose in a high-profile fight. It very rarely happens, especially if they're out of their weight class. But in America, it's routine for these guys to do this, and it just makes you wonder. You think, well, what's going on here? Like, you know what I mean? You thought there would have been more together.
Yeah.
You know?
DS has said here, I didn't know Porter laid into Haney. I'm surprised by that. I expected better from Porter. Ola Obafemi has... Ola Obafemi has put here, Daniel Dubois got loads of stick. Yeah, he did actually from fighters, especially Billy Joe. Yeah, when he quit. Carl Frampton, Billy Joe, others as well.
Yeah, I'll give you that one. I'll give you that. Although that was after the fight.
Yeah.
That was after the fight. I'm talking about with Colbert and Wilder. This was before the fight. And he
just
was
random,
saying, yeah, and he's trashing his style and, you know what I mean, saying all sorts of things about him that I thought was inappropriate, you know, calling him a sucker and stuff like that. You show me where that's happened here.
Yeah, but do you think Wilder might put some of that on himself when he says stuff like, yeah, I'm your king and all this? Like, do you think that sort of thing might antagonize some of these fighters? Be like, hold on, he ain't my king. What do you mean? Like,
if that was the case, Chris Colbert went out of his way to say he had nothing personal against Wilder. He said, oh, I like Wilder, but he still trashed him. So I'm not sure if that one holds up.
Conrad has said here, Dillian is just angry all the time. I don't think he is vicious. Dillian is angry all the time, to be fair. Good topic though, man.
And he's a real alpha male, to say the least. But I don't see Dillian. Put it this way: have you ever seen Dillian White trash guys that are below his weight class? He seems to reserve his venom for guys that are in his weight class and guys that.
I don't think I have. If I'm being honest, no.
You heard Dillian go in on guys that are at welterweight or middleweight or super middleweight and guys like that, you know what I mean? Or come out and say, I don't like him, I hope he loses, and his style is trash, he can't punch, and he's going to get beat. I don't think I've ever seen that, bro.
Like I said, the only time I've seen that in England is towards AJ. And I'm being honest, Josh Taylor's done it. I've seen him say a lot of crap about AJ before. And I'm like, what's AJ done to this guy? And the same with Archie Sharp. Like I said, those are the ones that I've seen it. If it's been anyone from what I've seen, it's been fighters in the lower weight divisions towards AJ. Maybe they're just hardcore Fury fans and they're just gonna, you know, they're rivals and they're gonna ride with Fury. But yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that before.
Yeah, I've seen that. I would also say as well, I think AJ can divide opinion amongst a lot of men actually, because I think there's a certain jealousy that some men have of AJ. They see this guy, you know what I mean, the way he's built, he's a good-looking guy. You know what I mean, the ladies swoon over him. There's billboard pictures of him all up over London. And, you know what I mean, there's a certain panache that goes with AJ. And I guess some fighters think that in their minds, they think he's not worthy of that status. A bit like when David Beckham was playing football, remember?
Yeah.
You would hear a lot of people say, oh, why does Beckham get all that shine? He's not that good a player. But what we have to understand is that Beckham was a marketeer's dream. And I think that's similar with AJ. Sometimes it's not always related to your talent, is it? Or the level of talent. Because obviously Beckham's a very good footballer. But some people would say, look, why is this guy getting all this shine? He's not a great player. But they're not understanding how marketing works. You know what I mean? And David Beckham was one of the most marketable players in his generation. So you don't have to be the best footballer of your generation to acquire that. Obviously, it helps, but you don't have to always be the best player in the world to be the most marketed player in the world.
Haye said here, I've noticed certain great British guys like Taylor envy AJ. DS has put here, rumors that Fury versus Wilder could be postponed due to a COVID outbreak in the Fury camp. Haye has just said it here. Coppinger reporting Wilder and Fury off.
Wow, breaking news. Wow. See,
man. You know what I was going to say? I was going to say we're 2 weeks away from that fight and the promo hasn't been that great.
No,
I'm not saying it could be.
Having said that, I heard that the ticket sales have been doing very good. So it's not going to be when we heard that the Teofimo Lopez Cambosos fight got cancelled. Now there was this undercurrent of conspiracy that was suggesting that the reason why the fight got cancelled, in fact, it was being openly spoken of in some places, that it had less to do with Teofimo catching COVID and more to do with the fact that they were struggling to sell tickets. Our friend Leonard Ellaby was making it very well known that that was the case, and he wasn't the only one. Some of the reporters were coming out openly and saying that they suggested something fishy about that cancellation. But this, wow,
This is bad. This ain't good, man. I'm not. Oh, this ain't good. Oh yeah, it said here tickets are actually bad. They're lowering prices in the arena. Obes are saying I've just seen that, it's annoying. Harvey's saying Wilder won't be mad. More time for him to train. Quickly off topic.
This is kind of narrative out there that Wilder doesn't really want the. If anything, I get the body language from the Fury camp is the one that seems that they don't want to fight. I mean, Tyson Fury's dad has been quite open in it and said that he didn't want his son to fight Wilder again.
It's going to be postponed. I'm looking at my phone here. I'm seeing it. Like they're reporting it. ESPN. It's looking like it will be postponed. Wilder Fury.
Pretty legitimate sources that's coming from. So that's probably true. And I can't wait to look at that later and see what's going on there, man, because that's a big blow. I have to say that I was really looking forward to that fight, man, because, I mean, obviously we were going to talk about it in the weeks and days leading up to the fight, man, but I was beginning to smell the portents of an upset in that fight. I know people are going to call me crazy, but I'm looking at the body languages around the two camps. I'm seeing how Wilder's training, the way he's talking, the level of confidence him in his training. And listen, I know you're going to say, we've heard it all before, when you get in the ring, blah, blah, blah. But seriously, I watch a lot of boxing, man, and I've been seriously impressed with the way that Wilder and Malik Scott are going about their business. And sometimes in boxing, man, it's where, you know what I mean, when the opportunity presents itself, if you can take it, you know what I mean, it can lead to big things. And I just thought, man, that Wilder was looking real menacing, man. And I don't think it was just for show neither. I really don't. I think the guy was extra motivated. He's got his head together. And I think he was going to be a serious threat to Tyson Fury. I'm not saying he would have, it's automatic that he would have won. But what I'm saying is I could see where there might be a pathway for him to win that fight. And I also think that Tyson Fury, despite what he said in recent weeks, I think he just doesn't really rate Wilder that much. And I think he could be going into this fight with a certain degree of overconfidence. So
this whole news has pissed me off, man. I'm not gonna lie, man. I'm not happy about this at all. Like, it's just, again, delayed another big fight. When is that going to be rescheduled? We've got Obes here saying no undisputed till end of 2022. Yeah, that's basically, the heavyweight division has been on hold. It's literally been on hold because of, you know, these three. And I'm not going to blame them. I'm just saying they're the characters involved. No undisputed. Yeah, we'll forget about that for now. This isn't good news for boxing, man. This isn't. Not.
And you can just imagine what the Wilder camp are going to say. I think we pretty much know what their narrative is going to be. They're going to say that he's ducking and that he didn't want it.
Conrad saying here, Fury ducking another rematch. A lot of people in there, like, they can't believe it. They're saying it's off. The fight's off, man. Harvey saying, let's hope Joshua Usyk goes ahead. But Conrad is saying AJ Usyk isn't signed either. It's not, is it?
It's not.
So,
although I didn't expect that to happen, I think there's much more chance of that going ahead. I really do. And the reason why I say that is because AJ himself has issued statements recently that he's about to go into camp and he can't wait for the fight. Likewise, Eddie Hearn said that, although Eddie said similar things about Wilder and Fury and AJ, didn't he? So, well, listen, man, I am genuinely shocked. Breaking news on the show, it would appear.
The show, yeah. This is the official. This was the big up Ola Obafemi for this here, but this is basically the quote from the news source that he got it from, ESPN, or maybe it was Michael Benson, one of them. But he's put here: Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder 3 is reportedly likely to be postponed from July 24th due to a COVID outbreak in Fury's camp. No official decision made yet.
Well, it would seem to suggest that statement that it isn't Tyson Fury that's got COVID. So it might be, when they say somebody in the camp, how much contact did they have with Fury? So maybe they're waiting for the details of that to be announced before they make any further statement on it. But wow.
Coppinger's a useful source, isn't he? He tends to be reliable in this situation.
I always agree with a lot of his thoughts on boxing, but he is a legitimate journalist and a creditable source, I would have thought.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's certainly worthy of our talking about.
Mr. Pigeon has put here, I love Fury, but that's no outbreak. I've got messages on my phone already, people saying, I don't believe that shit. I don't think it is a COVID. Listen, I don't know.
You know what it is?
There are people that don't believe it.
Yeah, well, you know, COVID's one of those things, especially when they say someone in the camp, then, you know what I mean? Like I said, that doesn't sound to me like Fury's got it. Somebody in the, who is that? Is it somebody on the periphery of the camp? Is it a sparring partner? Is it somebody that's just, you know what I mean, remotely involved? We don't know. I guess we'll have to wait for the details to surface, but it's a real, if it does get cancelled, man, I'll be real upset, man, because I was one of those that was really looking forward to this fight.
What do you make of this comment here from Diaz? He's put, when will Fury actually defend his belts? I'm not convinced about the COVID outbreak. I've got my own opinions on how things will unfold. So this is what a lot of people are going to be saying, I reckon. They're going to be saying, like, when's Fury going to defend his belts and stuff, you know?
He has a reputation of not defending belts, doesn't he? Let's be honest. He has a reputation, whether it's deserved or not, of not, you know what I mean, submitting to his obligations in terms of making title defenses. He's been called out on this many times before. So are we seeing history repeat itself? I don't know, man. I just find this mighty strange. I mean, if you know COVID's going around, it's incumbent upon you to, you know what I mean, make sure that your camp is secure in that regard. You hear fighters talk about going into bubbles and making sure that certain rules are observed. I think it's kind of careless, bordering on reckless, to allow somebody in your camp to get infected with COVID, with such a big fight coming up in a couple of weeks, man. And listen, you can never really say because we don't know what's going on, but he would have to take the blame, really, wouldn't he? Let's be honest. If it is COVID, he would have to take the blame, because people are going to be looking at the camp and saying, well, how did you allow this to happen? Although, listen, I've caught COVID myself, and you can catch it from people. It's a very infectious disease. I don't know how many people's in the camp and what their roles are, obviously, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But there's going to be a lot of finger pointing at Fury and the Fury camp. That's all I know.
Yeah. If it's Isaac Lowe, LOL. Stefan has thought, I thought COVID only affected Frank Warren cards. Mr. Pigeon has said here, Wilder is in bed with the devil. Shelley Finkel. Haven't got a link, I'm afraid, man. We're live, you know. We haven't got anything. We're just winging it now. We're winging this show because we didn't expect this. Do you know what I mean?
Of course, we were going to talk about Lyndon Arthur and them, man. There, and then,
we ain't even touched on that yet.
Poor old Lyndon Arthur. It is what it is, though.
Yeah. Mr. KWX Ben, he's put here, a guide to Boris speak, Northern powerhouse equals shit. I don't think this is about boxing. Stefan has put here, didn't Bob Arum say in a recent interview that Wilder, Fury, and their camps were vaccinated? I mean, it's Bob Arum, man. I mean, what can we believe from this guy anymore?
I'll tell you what I want to say about Bob Arum. He was very critical of Teofimo when his fight got called off because of him catching COVID. And I don't know if you saw the interview, but Bob Arum gave an interview to one of the YouTubers, one of the boxing channels. I can't remember the name now. But anyway, he gave the interview because I watched it. And he was highly critical of Teofimo, accused him of being careless and not being professional enough. So I'm be very keen to see what he's going to say about this one. You know what I mean? Because like I said, he was quite damning in his criticism of Teofimo and his team when he caught COVID. So, yeah.
Javier said here, it's hard to enjoy the heavyweight division as much anymore. There's always something. He's right. He's right, man.
There's always something. And not always good either. Most of the time, it's not good, is it?
No. Where do we go? Hopefully, it could be just a, you know, I mean, if it is a COVID outbreak and, you know, it has affected the fighters and stuff, then, you know, who knows when it could be rescheduled to. I'm hoping it could be, you know, pushed back maybe a few weeks. But again, that's me being ignorant. I don't know the consequences of what's happening here.
I'll tell you something else I heard as well, Darryl. I'm not sure if you heard it, but I try and keep my ear to the ground as far as boxing camps and training camps and all that go. And I had heard rumors that Tyson Fury had not been looking good in training at all. I'd heard that he'd been bashed up in sparring a couple of times. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I did, yeah. Well, Barham said it, actually.
Fights get called off for medical reasons. It's a cover for the training team assessing him and saying, look, he's not ready. He's not, you know what I mean? We would be foolish to let him go through with a fight. So I guarantee you there's going to be more stuff coming out around this because, like I said, this should just come from left field. And like I said, I had heard, I've read it, I've seen it, where people are suggesting that Tyson Fury has not been looking $1 million in training. And I think there was a story I saw a week or two ago where he was walking around with a black eye. Now, listen, just because a man's got a black eye in sparring doesn't mean to say that he was getting bashed up in sparring. Of course it does.
Quite regular, yeah.
But like I said, I had heard rumors that he's not been looking great. On the contrary, and I'm sure you've heard this as well, I've been hearing rumors that Deontay's been flying in training camp. Both with the video stuff that he's put out, which of course is only him hitting the pads. But I've also heard stuff where they're saying they're having to hold him back, is what I'm hearing with Yarde. Malik Scott said that the other day in an interview that I watched. He goes, we're having to hold this guy back. He's so energized and motivated right now. He's doing everything I ask of him and more, to the point where we're having to hold him back a little bit. So you see where this is going. You know what I mean?
Maybe it could be something that Conrad said earlier, where he said that could this just be part of a game plan for Fury, you know, just to mess around with Wilder. He knows that he's so invested in this fight, you know, he's really talking about getting the revenge and, you know, going as far as saying that he wanted to catch a body against Fury. Could this be just mind games from Fury to get in their head and let them worry and affect their preparation? It could be. I mean, I don't know. I don't know the details yet.
I think that's a very risky strategy in terms of promotion of the fight, to say it's off and then say it's back on again, because then what you're doing is slowing up the ticket sales even more, aren't you? Because people won't trust to buy the tickets. So I'm not so sure if he would use that one.
You said here,
I think it might have some. Listen, the COVID could be genuine, so you know we don't want to make light of COVID, but at the same time, man, it does strike you as a little bit sort of coincidental, doesn't it? 2 weeks away.
Harvey said here, we've seen in the past Fury doesn't necessarily get motivated after achieving what he wants. Now he's got the belts. Is he struggling to get going in training? Again, all speculation right now, but valid speculation, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, listen, we saw pictures of Fury when he entered camp, him taking his shirt off, and I have to say, he didn't look great, did he? And I know that Tyson Fury is not what you call body beautiful. He's no AJ when it comes to that, anyway. But it was noticeable, man, that he did seem to be carrying a lot of excess around his belly. He assured us at the time that it wasn't a problem and that he'd been training and he was in great shape. But all throughout, I've always, I mean, listen, it's Tyson Fury we're talking about. He's a maverick. He does his own thing. And he's not conventional. He doesn't, the normal rules don't seem to apply to him in a lot of ways. But I couldn't help but think, man, that he didn't sort of carry the aura of somebody that was really and truly motivated for this fight in terms of, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
get his head down and stuff. He seemed a bit off the cuff to me with a lot of the stuff he was talking. Was he truly focused? Is what I'm trying to say. Because, like I said, in boxing especially, you could train all you want, but if up there is not right, man, then you're in big problems. Especially if you're fighting a guy that is really motivated. There's been a lot of fighters over the years. They've trained hard. They've made the weight. They've said they're in great condition. But this wasn't right. This has to marry with your physical side. Otherwise, you're at a big disadvantage. The two have to be in sync. You know what I
Conrad
mean?
has said here, I never bought this new confident Fury. Big talkers often hide their insecurities. Yeah,
True. That is true.
well,
And then the thing with Fury is he's always been like this throughout his career, so you can't really. It's not like he's just come out the other day and start making outlandish and outrageous comments. He can go way back into his career, and he's been like this. So with him, it's difficult to judge that. But what I would say, I did get that impression from Fury that he was perhaps not as focused as he should be. Certainly, if you go back to when he fought Vladimir Klitschko, there was a different aura around him then. This one, he's cracking jokes, he's turning up at other people's fights, he's wearing loud clothes, he's making outrageous statements. I see him the other day in doing some MMA stuff with Francis Ngannou. Did you see that?
no.
Yeah, I mean, he's doing all that type of stuff, man. And this is when he's in camp. This man should have his head down, man. He should be eat, sleep, and drink water. And the 24th of July, I didn't get that impression that he was doing that. Is that because he was overconfident? And like I said, I've heard rumors in the last week or so that Tyson Fury has not looked his optimal self in training, and that he's been getting hard work in sparring. Guys have been getting the better of him in sparring. I heard that. So
Gonna have to read up more on this when we can. But like, I'm gonna come back to this question here. I'm just gonna read these last two comments on this situation before we go out for today. Harvey's put here, I ain't gonna complain if he ain't motivated. I wouldn't mind seeing him get flattened in that fight. I think he's talking about Fury. And IA has made a relevant point here. He said the WBC belt hasn't been contested for 17 months. This can't keep happening. It's true.
No.
It's true.
You could almost see them. You could almost see them. If Tyson Fury's going to be out, I mean, like I said, I don't know if he has COVID. It says somebody in the camp. So
In the camp, yeah.
So I'm looking at that and thinking it's probably not him. So they might be able to just move the fight a month or two. I don't know.
Yeah.
But any longer than that, like you
You're
said,
not
the fight hasn't been defended for so long. You could almost see the WBC doing one of their usual things and getting Yarde and somebody else to fight for what they would call an interim belt. You know what I mean? Winner of that. You know what I mean? I could see that happening.
Yeah.
Maybe, what about, I'll tell you what, this off the top of my head. Yarde versus Dillian for the interim WBC title, whilst Tyson Fury recovers from COVID or gets his COVID situation sorted out. Them two fight. But even that, Dillian's, I'm not sure if he's in training camp. He would be disadvantaged if they said to him tomorrow, you're going to fight in September or something, because he wouldn't have had a full camp. But you could almost see the WBC doing that, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Getting Yarde to somebody else, maybe somebody who's in training for a fight. And then they say the winner of them two squares off against Tyson Fury. But then all this time, man, the belt is being held up. Undisputed is being held up yet again. So
yeah, more details as and when. I'm going to have a look into it after the show. Quickly touch on a couple of topics before we log out for today, because I can only be on for an hour today. But Mr. KWX Ben has kind of segued into my next area, and he's saying, will there be another street fight between Chisora and Haye along the lines that Haye's influence couldn't get Chisora the win in the close fights? Now, obviously, the news broke yesterday, actually, that David Haye and Derek Chisora were parting ways after 2-3 years together with David Haye managing him in his career. Now David Haye's no longer his manager. A bit random, really. No one was really expecting that news, but there's been some speculation out there amongst boxing fans that David Haye simply didn't believe in Chisora anymore, which may have warranted the split. I know it was amicable, but do you think that could have been the reason?
it's quite possible, but I am certainly not surprised that they split. I mean, I think Derek himself in the past has described him as unmanageable. And I think David Haye has also said that, you know what I mean? And remember the Del Boy's last fight, man, with some of the antics he was going on in with there. You could visibly see David Haye was exasperated, wasn't he? He was like, oh, I don't know what to say. I'm gonna have to speak to Derek's mum to see if she can resolve the situation. That was when he was talking about pulling out of the fight against Joseph Parker because he wasn't being coming to the ring second and all this type of stuff. So listen, man, Derek Chisora is going to be hard work for anybody. David Haye did probably look at the wider outcome and realize that, look, man, Derek is pretty much spent, isn't he? Let's be honest. At the top level, especially, Derek is pretty much done. So I would imagine that David Haye made that simple calculation. Is it worth his energy anymore? And he probably came to the conclusion correctly and said, probably not.
I think he's done a good job on it.
If they have parted amicably, then hopefully that is the case, and they'll both move on to different aspects of their careers.
I think David Haye's done a good job with Chisora from what he has, in terms of getting him the fights and keeping his name out there. I think he's done a fantastic job as his manager.
David Haye's done a great job, and when you consider the acrimony that existed between those two when they fought, I mean, we were speaking earlier on about, trashing each other and stuff like that. I mean, if you look at some of the stuff that surrounded their fight, wow, that was crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for them to work together, that was unbelievable almost.
Stefan has said here, imagine Chisora and Don Charles linking up for a 13th time. Could happen, man.
Well, it may not be a 13th time, but it wouldn't surprise me, because those two have that kind of almost like father like son, or that avuncular relationship, don't they?
Yeah, they do, yeah.
He speaks well of Derek, always. Even when Derek's treated him less than favorably at times, he's always said that, he's got a special place in his heart for Derek. So that certainly wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. We got Big T in the chat here. He's just talking about the news. Yeah, we spoke on this earlier, man. Look, I haven't had the time to check, Big T, but I will after the show. But a lot of verified sources and a lot of people in the comments have been saying that it looks like that's the case. And so I'm going to go by what they're saying and look into it afterwards. But I think it could actually get postponed. Yeah, Fury and Wilder 3. We'll wait and see what happens there. Quickly, Laurie, before we go, man, I wanted to speak about Lyndon Arthur. I mean, how unlucky is this? Like, we're about to give him his flowers today, man. We're going to dedicate the show to his preview. Do you know what I mean? Speak about his upcoming fight, but then Anthony Yarde pulled out. So that's already taken a bit of interest out of that card. And now, like, this whole news with Fury and Wilder, it just literally is overshadowed today's podcast. It's just taken us by surprise.
It has.
We haven't even had time to really talk about Lyndon Arthur and his opponent, David Faraci. Yeah. That's how you pronounce it. So, I mean, what do we even say? I mean, what's your thoughts on this fight?
I feel a bit sorry for him, man. I mean, I've given Lyndon Arthur, I don't know if he has a nickname, but I've given him the name Lyndon. It is what it is, Arthur, because that's what that seems to be his mantra whenever he's interviewed. Every question that gets put to him, he seems to say it is what it is. But anyway, I don't want to disrespect the guy, man. He's a very good fighter. 18 fights, unbeaten, 12 by KO. He's fighting another unbeaten fighter from Italy, by the way. So that was another.
Yeah, England, Italy. Yeah.
Showdown. And listen, Lyndon's expected to win, even though the guy is unbeaten. He's fighting. I even heard Frank Warren say that he's expecting Lyndon to put on a show. So no pressure there then. But yeah, man, Lyndon's in the spotlight. He deserves it. He had that great win against Anthony Yarde. Not a lot of people thought he was going to win, including myself. He did pull it off. He was a deserved winner, in my view. I'm not saying he's a better fighter than Anthony Yarde, but on that night, he was a better man. So props to him. And yeah, man, I want to see him take his career as far as it can go. I'm a big fan of his manager and coach, Pat Barrett. I remember watching Pat when I was in many years gone by, and he was one of my favorite domestic fighters, man. Big puncher. But anyway, enough about Pat Barrett, more about Lyndon. This is another opportunity, man, for him to put his name out there, man, and get a few wins and hopefully get a world title shot. So this is a big night for him, and I hope he wins. I think he will. He's got a fantastic jab, Lyndon Arthur, probably one of the best, if not the best jab in the UK right now, wouldn't you say?
Well, yeah, to keep Anthony Yarde at bay with basically just a jab, very impressive.
Lyndon Arthur is so good with that jab that he could basically win fights with one hand.
Well, he did against Yarde, didn't he?
Yeah. So that shows you, man, how good his jab is. And of course, he's got good pedigree, former outstanding amateur, won the Olympic team, fought for England many times. Good fighter, man. Needs to be marketed a bit more, and he could help himself in that regard by being a bit more.
It is what it is, man.
It is what it is. But it is what it is, though. You know what I mean? It is. But yeah, man, listen, I don't want to clown on the guy. You know what I mean? Might have to run into him one day. But listen, man, enough respect. I expect him to win and win well, and keep his career on the upward curve.
Conrad said, don't forget about Joe Joyce's jab. He's got very good jab as well. He beat the boy with a jab.
Good jab.
Yeah.
But I think with Lyndon Alpha's jab, it's that classic snapping jab, isn't it? It's not just a point scorer. You know what I mean? He's a ramrod jab as well. And he has variations to the jab as well. He's a lot more skilled than what people give him credit for, man. I'll definitely say that.
Last word here before we go, and it will be the last word, and that's just on Anthony Yarde. You know, another pullout. I was saying to you, when I told you this news the other day, I was saying to you, like, why did they not have another opponent lined up for him? You know, this opponent that he was supposed to face, Eamon Atra, he pulled out the first time when this fight was scheduled a couple of months ago, pulled out again through injury. It's not been a very good year or 16 months or so for Anthony Yarde, you know, both in the ring and outside the ring. It's been really rough for him. So this is another setback, and it's a shame. You know, it would have been good to see him back in the ring. You know, he's got a new guy there in his team. And, you know, I was just a bit surprised that there was no backup opponent, no one in training that, you know, could have just jumped in. But, you know, it is what it is. I have to say it. It is what it is.
It is what it
What's
is.
your thoughts on it?
No, I agree. First up, it's been a horrible year for Anthony Yarde. We know that he had problems outside the ring. He lost his dad. He lost one of his grandparents to COVID. Then, of course, he lost to Lyndon Alpha. He had a fight after that. It was a blowout. He's supposed to have another fight after that. That got called off. Now this one appears to have got called off. With regards to the question you raised regarding the opponent, yes, I would have thought that there would have been a backup opponent, but then maybe the budget didn't allow for it. I did see an interview with Frank Warren where they said that they did try in earnest to get another opponent for Anthony Yarde, but it didn't quite work out. So, yeah, man, I feel it for him. I actually know Anthony Yarde quite well, and I was looking forward to seeing him get back in the ring and do his thing, man. So I'm gutted for him, but he's just got to stay focused, man, and which I'm sure he will. I know him. He's a very mentally strong guy. He's just got to stay focused, stay in the gym, and wait for his opportunity, which I'm sure he'll get because he's one of the big names in boxing. And it's funny that I have to say that even though he lost that fight with Lyndon Alpha, really and truly, Anthony Yarde's status, he does have a bigger name, really, doesn't he, than Lyndon in British boxing right now. Whether that's deserved or not is, you know, is down to the person's opinion, but he's still a big name in boxing is what I'm saying. And we want to see him back in the ring very soon. Yep,
have to agree with that, man. Listen, guys, going to wrap it up today. This show has been all over the place today. It's been a very good show. I do like shows like this because, you know, we just winging it. And great to have, this is why we love doing lives, having people in the comments, because I wouldn't have known this until this news about Fury and Wilder 3, if it's true. I wouldn't have known this if you guys in the comments didn't say it. So, yeah, very good show today. And, you know, great to interact with you guys as always, man. And, you know, some breaking news there for us to look into afterwards. But crazy. Thank you all for joining. Don't forget to hit the like button on the way out. And I'm just going to let Laurie close it out for today, as we do on every show. So, Laurie, just your final words.
Once again, man, thanks for having me on the show. Great show. Love being on air. You've allowed me to indulge my passion once again, which is great. Dare I say, the minute I get off this live, the first thing I'm going to be doing is reaching for my phone, man.
Same, yeah, same.
But it's amazing, isn't it, that we're on the show and you had your list of subjects you was going to talk about, and lo and behold, it just got hijacked by this news that the fight might be off. And let's be honest, man, it is looking that way, isn't it? I mean, if you're getting legitimate sources, authentic sources coming out and saying this stuff, then not all of these guys are going to be making this stuff up. So, yeah, man. Wow. Breaking news indeed.
Yeah.
But yeah, shout out as well to all the people, man, who both watch the show and contribute by sending in their comments and stuff like that, man. Really appreciate it, man. Get the show out there, man. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. Let's get these numbers up. Let's get these numbers up to where we deserve without blowing our trumpets too much, man. We deserve more views, man. So people out there, when you watch this, yeah, tell your friends, tell your people, share it, get it out there, man. We want to get this show out there. I think it deserves that, because I watch a lot of other people's content, and I'm not trying to crap on nobody, but this show is at least as good as a lot of those guys, if not better. That's what I'm going to say. So yeah, like, share, subscribe.
Well said, man. Guys, enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the football. And we'll be back next week, man, for sure. It should be another good show.
It's coming home.